Thank you. First of all, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised here in Ardmore. I have 33 plus years as a police officer in this county. The last 20 years spent supervising police personnel, both from the city of Ardmore and the county. I really hold this job as the county sheriff. I'm very proud to be head of this county. My department is, I put second to none. They have an average of 17 years of experience per deputy. Out of those, 8 of the deputies hold bachelor degrees and associate degrees, so there's a lot of knowledge there. I'm avid about the training that I provide for the deputies. We always send them to school. We have a lot of the in-service training classes that we do ourselves.
Like my father before me, I've served in the armed forces for 20 years. It feels like I've been virtually everywhere on the planet at one time or another. This gives me a fairly broad view of people and cultures and how governments treat people. That in turn gives me a love for how our founding fathers built this republic, its constitution, its Bill of Rights limiting our government's incursion into our personal lives and God-given rights. Studying the founders has given me a great frustration for how we see our protections abused and flat out ignored today. I've served on warships in times of peace and in times of war, starting as a fireman to running shops to non-inspector inspection to quality control supervision, both in the nuclear and the non-nuclear fields, ending my last shift as the fire marshal in 911's very first retaliatory action. I've had a great deal of experience in managing production shops and emergency management teams with as many as 60 to 80 of the Navy's most elite firefighters. Each
Okay, first question for 2 minutes. What specific qualifications do you possess to make you the best candidate for the office of sheriff?
The qualifications for county sheriff would be the continued education that I have, the knowledge to do the job, the know-how, the leadership, everything that comes along with it, to be honest, integrity, ethically. The county sheriff is a very, very important commitment that I have to this county. One is because of the the family members that I have here. All my kids have gone here, went to school here, so I've got deep ties here. But as far as the qualifications goes, it's the overall knowledge of police work. I've spent 33 plus years in doing this kind of work, and that's what I stand on.
Carter County Sheriff's Department is about 20 deputies, and the last shift that I was on in the war zone, I ran a team of emergency workers that was between 60 and 80 people. And I did that on that one shift alone longer than Sheriff Milton has been the sheriff. The shift before that was a much larger platform. It was an aircraft carrier, and there could be as many as 100 emergency members and Marines and emergency medical all working for the fire marshal. So when it comes to emergency management, the general term, I would argue that I have a vast amount of time training and working with and simply being the boss of high-pressure situations. So I would agree that it is not the same exact thing as working a police station, but I'm going to argue that it has an awful lot of crossovers.
Would you comment on your philosophy of the interaction between county government and its interaction with state and federal government? your philosophy as it relates to your interaction with state and federal government.
Well, on the county side of it is what you philosophy of running the county is close to like running the state. It'd be on different levels, which includes budgets, all kinds of laws and everything that you do, and everything regarding that particular thing. The county is on, which of course, a lower level than the state, but it's run basically the same. So that's all.
Did y'all know that in an emergency situation where the governor cannot be contacted, that any military force within Carter County will actually go to the sheriff and say, we have this emergency, we're going to go do it. And the sheriff will say, here is what you're allowed to do. You may do this, you may do this, and you may do this. You may not do this, this, and this in accordance with Title 44. At that point, that general, that colonel, whoever it may be, has his walking orders from the governor by what the sheriff says in an emergency. So when it comes to what the state, what the county does and the interactions, there's an awful lot that's massively important when it comes to our emergencies in our areas. We had Lone Grove where we had the tornado, and we had National Guard show up and guard our border for going in. And they didn't know the people that lived there. They had no idea, and they were not armed. They couldn't do anything. And the sheriff could put a force on the field that could protect us, that could make sure that as you go to your house, they send someone that's armed with you and keep you protected and keep you from doing stupid things. So there's an amazing amount of things that he can do for the people.
How do you propose to address the shortfall of revenue due to the loss of housing long-term DOC inmates? How do you propose to address the budgetary shortfall due to the loss of revenue from housing long-term DOC inmates?
On the DOC shortfall, as far as the budget goes, we've lost, when the DOC started taking the prisoners out, we went from around $60,000 a month from DOC for their prisoners. When they started taking them out, it went down to like sometimes 10. And as you go down that far to 10, then you're losing a lot. So 1 month we went from like $60,000 down to $2,500. So we came up with some plans to try to offset some of it. We accomplished that, started looking real good and everything. Then DOC started backing off with taking the DOC inmates. So now we're averaging anywhere from 30 to 40 inmates now. So that's raised the budget back up, our money's back up, and so it's leveled back off. So we're doing very good as far as that goes. Thank you.
One thing I'm not going to do, and I'm not in the least bit interested in doing, is making the lives of the prisoners interworking with the sheriffs in the area and find out what's working and see why I can't apply it here.
You now each have 1 minute to close.
Well, again, on my law enforcement career, I've been 33 plus years. I've been there, done that. I've seen the lows and the highs of both Ardmore PD and the county. I would have to differ with my opponent. The county sheriff is a lot different than him being on a boat and doing what he's doing. But the county, at a sheriff level, You have to be committed to do it over the long haul. And you have to have the knowledge to do it and the leadership. And that's what it takes to be a county sheriff. Thank you.
It's been reported that this is now the most violent and dangerous area of Oklahoma. How is that possible? How do we look at our kids and say, here's what you're inheriting? How can we possibly permit that? We all know we won't solve this by throwing more and more tax money at it and hoping that it's going to go away. We aren't looking for bigger and bigger police forces to stare at us menacingly. It's not to go after the drugs and be proud of doing it. It's not about going after the thieves that we seem to have so many of. The answer is in the county. It's in you, the communities that make it up, standing tall, organized, equipped, and willing to stand against the lawless. If the county actively comes alongside the lawman, then the criminal element will have less and less ground to call their own. We can make them dry up. Let them go somewhere else, not here where we are raising our children. Not in my county.